Hey everybody, welcome to episode 2 of our deep dive into this guy scumbag of a cod. Um, I don't know what kind of goofy guy, um, masquerades around as like the this Sumerian warlord. Because he literally spends like all of his time just whining about like feminism. I'm pretty sure like the real historical Sargon of Akkad was had much better things on his mind than to worry about the femoids taking over the local cuneiform tablets. I don't want the femoids writing and learning um not Sanskrit, uh cuneiform, so that they won't be able to compete with the men. Anyway, moving on. This is Sargon's video, who I am, and what I do.
Be just like it's like one of the worst things that you could spend your money on.
Hello, and welcome to my channel. I go on the internet as Sargon of Akkad, and I chose this name because I'm a lover of history and the lessons it can teach us. I started my channel about a year ago because I was unable to silence my own conscience. Too much is being done in the name of legality instead of morality. There are too many bad arguments being passed off as truth without being supported by evidence or backed up by reasonable arguments.
Okay.
And it got to the point where I was genuinely starting to lose sleep sometimes because my silence was my consent by simply
Sargon just stayed up at night sometimes. Just he couldn't sleep. He was so upset. He was so upset that like women were talking shit about his favorite video games. He was like, God damn it! I can't go to sleep because fucking Anita Sarkeesian keeps making videos about how Super Mario is a sexist. This, this guy stayed up nights wondering about that kind of thing. Couldn't get any sleep. Poor guy.
doing or saying nothing. I was complicit in these activities. It got to the point that I felt that I had to have some kind of voice in the public dialogue.
Because like white men don't have any voice in the public dialogue whatsoever. They're completely drowned out by just the sea of minorities and women. I mean, Sargon actually probably believes that, but he's just kind of living in his own little bubble, his own little sheltered little world, his childish view of the world. Like I said in part one, he kind of has like a child's view of the world, and a child's level of political analysis, as deep as a single drop of water. So let's keep going.
No matter how small and insignificant, just so I was able to rest easy at the end of the day, knowing I had done something.
I had triggered the libs. I triggered 228,000 liberals today. So mission accomplished. Now I can finally wash my penis and go to sleep.
If I were to flatter myself, I would like to think that I'm following in the footsteps of the best classical orators. And I try to create...
Yeah, guys. Carl Benjamin, the guy that calls Asian women chinks, and calls mentally disabled children retarded, is following in the footsteps of some of the greatest Western thinkers out there. I mean, he's just a master philosopher.
rock-solid arguments backed up by reason, evidence, and logic. I am tired of partisan politics.
I'm tired of partisan politics, says like the super far right crazy ukip Spurglord loser
that make no attempt to compromise with the other side. I am absolutely sick of hearing one person's opinion and disregarding the others. To make my points, I use rhetorical arguments, most often apologia, polemics, or philippics. I can be exceedingly strident in my opinions, but
look at this big brain Sargon with all of his big brain. I want to hear those again.
I use rhetorical arguments, most often apologia,
Apologia,
polemics, or philippics.
polemics,
I can
or
be
what
most
was last?
often apologia, polemics, or philippics. I can be
Philippics.
exceedingly strident in my opinions, but I am always willing to change.
I think the only technique I've really seen Sargon use is the troll technique, where he is just like, so, you know, feminists are just totally fat, ugly idiots who want to just destroy the West, and every single feminist is just a cringy moron, and then that is pretty much the extent of his orator skills. Anytime I've seen Sargon get to an actual debate with like somebody whose ideas he opposes, he gets his ass handed to him. So I mean, big brain boy doesn't follow in the tradition of Apollonia or polemics or any other Western great mind. Um, yeah, so let's keep going.
My mind if I am shown to be wrong, because ultimately I am most concerned with reaching the most objective truth it is possible to reach. Now, I'm sure you're probably thinking, but objective
One of those objective truths was that in some cases, 11-year-olds can consent to sex with an adult. Um, I will actually do a video on that in the future because uh, yeah, you just have to really see it to believe it, and it's pretty darn cringy, bro.
truths are a myth. We can never really be objective. And I agree, we can't. But I think that the journey is more important than the destination. And I
Sometimes the real Kekistan was the friends we made along the way.
think that trying to do these things, just the mere act of attempting it, is in itself the goal. I list my sources for all of my videos, so everyone who watches my videos has access to the same information and facts that I do, because
Of course, he probably gets his information and facts from like extremely biased far right sources, so not really useful to put those in the description if you want anything like objective.
ultimately I want people to come to their own conclusions, because I suspect that when people
Well, I've come to the conclusion that he's a fucking idiot, and so yeah, I guess he would be okay with that since I arrived at that through objective analysis. I've been watching this clown's videos for a long, long time. Even during the very beginning days of Gamergate controversy. That's where I first really came across this guy. And ever since the early days of Gamergate, I've just kind of peeked in every now and then, seen what kind of reactionary crap he had to say, and just slowly saw him grow. He went on Joe Rogan. He got real big and popular, and got a bunch of big brain boys to follow him. And now here he is running for ukip, failing, thankfully, but nevertheless, he's gotten quite popular, and his voice has reached quite a large audience. So let's keep going.
are fully informed, the right conclusion is self-evident. I realise that this is sounding quite serious and rather humourless, but I don't take my channel quite this seriously all the time. In fact, one of my favourite types
Because
of
he's
video
a
to
clown.
do are the polemics. And as reasonable as I might sound now, I can be quite harsh in my denunciation of an opposing argument, or the person giving it. I am not in favour of ideologies. Ideologies make people's thought processes rigid and inflexible, as they have to fit their entire worldview and all of the facts that they receive into this ideological
Sargon of Akkad over here acting like he doesn't have ideology. Like, are you kidding me?
cage. And too many times
He has ideology. It's just a very shallow and stupid one.
I have seen ideologues simply dismiss facts outright because they do not fit their worldview. I think that when new facts come to light, you must change your position, and therefore ideologies are simply inappropriate. I think issues should be dealt with on a case-by-case basis, applying the available facts.
But isn't like the process of empiricism in itself an ideology? Like Sargon's acting like he's above ideology, but like the very process of following like an empiric um objective investigation into like one's a person's philosophical failings and seeing what they can learn from that, like that is in and of itself a philosophy. So, big brain boy needs to read some more big brain books about philosophy, um, epistemology, and yeah, I think epistemology is the topic is the word I was looking for. So yeah, he needs to read some books about that.
with reasonable arguments. Now, I understand that as a human being, I'm going to make mistakes as often as anyone else.
Some of those mistakes, just to recap, include telling a rival candidate in the UKIP in the UK elections that he would not even rape her. Um, Calling a mentally disabled girl a retard, and calling an Asian woman a chink, and then acting indignant and saying, um, oh, it was just a joke. So, these are some of the wonderful deeds that Sargon has done.
But I'm always, always open to retracting or correcting an argument I have made if new information comes to light or I have simply made a mistake. I don't think there's any shame in doing this. In fact, I think it's shameful not to do this. As a
It
gamer
is.
and a man concerned primarily with ethics,
As a
I'm
gamer.
naturally a supporter of Gamergate.
Oh no,
And
here we go.
as a gamer, I like to include
Gamergate. For those of you who are too young to remember, let me tell you whippersnappers a story about the dark days of Gamergate. All right. So a long time ago, there was this girl named Anita Sarkeesian who made a series of videos in which she critiqued video games for some of their sexist tropes. I mean, it was very basic, common feminist analysis. It wasn't fringe. It wasn't some kind of radical ideas or anything like that. And quite frankly, having watched her series, I can agree that there are many sexist portrayals of women in video games. Um, but that being said, these gamer bros, these capital G gamers, which I play video games, but I don't call myself a capital G gamer because I don't want to be I don't want to be associated with these guys. All right. Um, they they pissed their pants with rage. They pissed their pants with rage so hard that a stream of urine cut through the cloth of their pants and splattered on their wall of their mommy's basement. They got so angry at seeing these feminists criticize their precious video games, which they, thought to their privileged little brains that it was a male space, even though video games. Some of the earliest video games were actually programmed by women, but uh, regardless, they largely organized by Sargon of Akkad, did a coordinated harassment campaign of these women and of other women in Anita Sarkeesian's social circle. I focus on Sarkeesian simply because she was the main target. Um, but these women faced death threats, they faced harassment, they faced doxing, which is when your personal information is exposed on the internet for everybody. Um, she's had to move. She's had her family has had to move, and she has had to have bodyguards. So yeah, this guy, when he says I'm a gamer and therefore I support Gamergate. What he's really supporting is like this coordinated harassment campaign towards certain women, certain feminist critics of video games. So this guy is a real bag of poo poo.
gaming content on my channel, and I mostly favour strategies, whether real-time or turn-based, although I certainly don't turn my nose up at other genres of games. Basically, I want my channel to be a place where people can go to find interesting and intellectually stimulating content. I never
If you're going to Sargon's channel for looking for intellectually stimulating content, literally the only reason you should be doing that is if you're somebody like me who's just gonna go there just to hear what he has to say so you can just rip it to shreds and shit all over him, because that's literally the only reason to watch Sargon of Akkad, is just to laugh at how stupid he is.
disable the ratings or comments on my videos because feedback is very, very important to me.
I
If
agree.
I say something you don't agree with, I would like to hear about it,
Oh,
because there's a
cool.
good chance you know something I don't. And if I'm
You're
misinformed,
damn right about
then
that.
I'm not doing my job properly.
You're
And
damn right
that
about
is
that.
something that would deeply trouble me. My channel is my job, so I have the luxury of being able to spend the time and address any comments that inform me where I've made a mistake or am lacking information. And as such, I am never afraid to address my critics. Indeed, I welcome good, constructive, solid criticism.
Well, that's good. Cause that's, as much as I call you a fucking idiot and all these names, I really am trying to offer you like constructive criticism here. Like your entire sort of alt-right Kekistan philosophy is completely asinine, and I shouldn't have to explain to you why it's asinine. It's self-evident. Just listen to some of the words you say that come out of your mouth sometimes. And if you don't realize that what you're saying is asinine, then I'm sorry to say that you're just kind of not all you're stupid. If you can't grasp why your Kekistan Pepe the Frog uh, lifestyle is wrong and toxic, then that's on you. That's not on us. That's on you. So moving on.
These are the standards I hold myself to, and they are the standards that I run my channel by. I do not accept any corporate funding for my channel, nor will I ever do so. I am not affiliated with any kind of channel network, nor shall I ever be. It is very, very important for me to be able to maintain my independence with my channel, because I understand that it may well be necessary to address topics that would otherwise be restricted if I had backers who had a political or financial agenda of their own, and I do not want to be party to it. Therefore my channel, my livelihood, is funded in two ways. The first way is by monetizing my videos on YouTube. This means,
Yeah.
unfortunately, you may be inconvenienced.
And so here we get like a big problem, because YouTube has monetized this guy's videos, and he makes videos about a huge variety of topics so that he can reach in as many communities as possible. I mean, you can see he has videos about video games. He has videos about movies, pop culture. Um, he has a little something for everybody. And so Sargon's insidious ideology is spreading, and he is profiting from it. And YouTube is profiting from it as well. And if YouTube really wanted to combat hate speech on their website, they would demonetize, at the very least, demonetize channels like Sargon of Akkad that peddle almost exclusively in anti-gay, anti-women, anti-minority, anti-immigrant hate speech. So that being said, let's keep going here.
By a short advert before watching one of my videos. I apologise
I'm
for
sure
this,
his
but
other
unfortunately,
avenue of
it's the
income is
business model that
Patreon.
YouTube offers. So I would appreciate it if you didn't use advert blocking software when watching my videos. But that is, of course, completely up to your own
Hey, guys, guess what? I'm using ad blocking software for his videos, so haha.
discretion. Once I've enabled a video for
Fuck you,
monetization, I have
Sargon.
no further control over the adverts. The second method is via a website called patreon.com.
Yeah.
Patreon is a site that allows people who wish to directly support
All right, let's just read this banner. Sargon of Akkad is creating philosophy, history, and satire. So does this mean like, because he fancies himself a philosopher? I mean, Sargon really does. Um, I know I have this channel and I spout leftist um theory and stuff like that, but I'm not claiming to like be the originator of these theories. My education is due to the works of previous Marxist and previous bread tubers, and I have a lot of bread tubers to thank for my political education, um, and a lot of political authors, some living, some dead, to thank. But I'm not as arrogant. I'm not so arrogant to say that I am some kind of enlightened philosopher following in the same vein of Socrates and Plato. I like to think of myself as a trash raccoon eating out of the dumpster can of society, and this is the kind of trash that I'm sifting through. Is Sargon's uh, just completely stupid, completely reactionary videos. I know I must have called him stupid like 1,000 times in this series, but I'm really, I don't want to just keep uh, saying the same thing, but it really is an apt description. His philosophy, he so-called philosophy, if he wrote a textbook on his so-called philosophy, it would be like less than 1 page long. It wouldn't even be a sentence. It would just say trigger the libs. 3 little words. Trigger the libs. That is Sargon's philosophy. Um, it also says he's creating history. That's pretty hilarious. Um, Sargon, although he is relevant now, he is going to be a product of his time, and he is going to, just like the state under socialism, he is going to slowly wither away. And his the whole Gamergate controversy is so dead and buried, that only Sargon is really talking about it anymore. And the only reason I'm talking about it is because I'm talking about Sargon talking about it. And so people get to this point. I think there's even a Joe Rogan podcast where I'll have to look up this clip, but Sargon starts whining about Anita Sarkeesian, and Joe finally just says like, "Okay, dude, just shut up about that. I don't give a fuck about whining about that anymore." Um, so that was his big splash in history. That in his UKIP failure. Um, in terms of satire, like the satire he makes, like is essentially calling mentally disabled girls retards and calling Asian women chinks. That's his satire. That's his definition of satire. So this guy, Sargon of Akkad, real big brained boy, um, peak logic, peak intellect, follows in the same vein of all of the great Western orators. He follows in the polemic tradition, the Apollonian tradition. He is just. I'm gonna dislike this video, and since he says he listens to feedback, I'm gonna tell him a little something. I'm gonna tell him, go pluck yourself, and maybe you'll discover that you are, in fact, a man baby. I don't quite know what that means. That's for him to figure it out. He's the big brain guy following in the Western logic. Um, Anyway, thank you for watching. That's been my second video on Sargon of Akkad. He is a real class act.